I'm going to look that camera because it's about to make a lot of y'all hot up in here. One of our biggest problems with the relationships between men and women, from the minute we come out of the womb and we are being taught by our parents, men are always taught how they should treat a woman. Women are always taught how they should be treated by a man. No one ever teaches a woman how to treat a man. No one ever teaches a man how he should be treated by a woman. All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Sipping on Excellence. As always, I'm Dr. Lionel Hunt, and I'm always here with my dude, Coach KJ.
Coach KJ, that's me. Let's go.
We bring it to you each and every week, keeping it raw, uncut, talking about everything from politics to relationships to
ships
to everything.
All the ships.
Whatever's hitting the brain, that's what we talk about. And we do it so y'all can just come and get this medicine.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. This is going to be a good one today.
Well, I mean, it's always good, but this one.
Because he brings it today.
Well, let's just, before we dig deep, man, why don't we talk about a little bit about you? How you doing, man? Where's your world? Since this is sort of the last day of Men's Mental Health Month.
The very last
day. Let's start out by checking in, checking up. How you doing, man?
I am actually very fantastic, and I'll tell you why. This has been the year of boundaries. The year of boundaries. Setting my boundaries, understanding my boundaries so I can set them, understanding that, shit don't have to be hard. Just know where you stand, what your worth is, whoa, back it up. You're in my space.
Who have you found that you have to set boundaries with the most?
Usually with friends, a lot with wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it. Understanding also what that means with family. Sometimes setting your boundaries, not necessarily listen and giving them the whole explanation.
Yeah.
It's just saying, this is where I'm cut off right here. This is where I'm gonna pull back a little bit. I need that room. Thank you.
Well, and it's I think one of the boundaries that I've learned to set is that when it comes to friends, you can't be afraid to let them go.
Oof.
Here's what I find interesting, man. And ending friendships.
Okay.
It's really different amongst men and women. Think about how many of your male friends, like your friends that you know, that you've ended that friendship with.
None.
Exactly. How many friendships amongst women has your wife ended friendships with?
She hasn't necessarily
in her lifetime. Because think about this, and the reason why I say this is because what a man ends a friendship over is very different than what women end friendships over.
Mm-hmm.
And when they end those friendships, it's bitter. When men end friendships, it's because of a respect thing, not necessarily boundaries. And there's no emotion tied to it. There's no emotion tied to that ending of that friendship. That friendship ends. And that's why I look at male friendships that I've had that have ended. And I can only think of one that I had to cut it off. And you know that one. Mm-hmm. But it had to be cut off.
Right.
Because it wasn't helpful to him or me or whatever, I see women in their friendships all the time over, I don't like something she said to me.
Absolutely. I was going to say,
I don't like the intent behind what she said to me.
yes, there's a miscommunication. I heard it this way, so that's what I'm going to run with, versus inquiring, is this what I'm hearing, to have an understanding. That has happened.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my wife recently.
I've seen it with my sister, friends. I mean, I've seen it with my own mom. And friendships. And you ask, well, what ended the friendship? I don't know, just, something. And it's like, well, what does that mean? And so when you're talking about setting boundaries, it's not even that somebody crossed a boundary.
Right.
It's we were cool today and not cool the next day. And it doesn't take a lot.
Right.
It takes one thing and they cut them off. With us, for us to cut you off, you got to repetitively cross a boundary or not show up or whatever it may be if we call you friend.
Yeah, there's a level of consistency.
Exactly. And so that's
you show a behavior towards how you are as a person, how you show up for people. Because you're not just doing it to me, you're doing it to other people.
And so I know today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I think today I wanted to sort of dive into this interpersonal relationship dynamic between men and women. And just there's a couple of points that I wanted to make that were just in my brain. And it's all hopefully to help us sort of bridge that gap, that divide, that for some reason society is pushing such a divide between men and women. And it's gotten to the point where we don't even know where that's coming from. Who's pushing that division? I don't need a man. I can do it all by myself.
Where does that language come from?
I don't. Where's this stemming from? And it's okay that I have boundaries, and it's okay that I have expectations, but it's not okay. Your boundaries are considered toxic. You can't have preferences, but I can. And so where's this all coming from? And so one of the things that I've always wondered is when as you're growing in these relationships, just whatever they are, friendships, interpersonal relationships, do you have the ability to adapt and evolve? Not change, but adapt and evolve. And who's better at that? We as men are expected to conform.
Good choice of words.
We're expected to conform.
Because conforming is bending.
And that's where the term happy wife, happy life came from. If we do whatever we can to please and just make her life okay, then we should be happy and that should be okay. There's now a shift in that paradigm, in that concept, where I had to listen to a woman the other day on a podcast who was like, whoever thought that was the right way to go about it. And the reason why I say that is because it can come back and bite you in the ass. You do all the things that makes your wife happy. Then all of a sudden now she's like, why are things so good? Questioning why they're so good. What did you do wrong?
Right.
What's happening here? There's no drama. Why? And it's like,
it just couldn't stay in good or growing from the good. It has to be a reason why there's good. So something bad a negative had to create this positive action.
Well, because what ends up happening is that a lot of times women will come at life from a place of past trauma. This has happened in the past when I put up my guard and I come at it. Men typically don't come at new experiences with past trauma. And is it an inability? Is it our great ability to adapt and evolve? and a woman's ability to adapt and evolve being less, I don't know. And so we think about that. We get banged up, we heal, we scar, we move on.
Mm-hmm.
That past trauma gets brought into new friendships, new relationships, and all that when it comes with women. So they always come at a scenario based on a past trauma. And I say I'm generalizing, but you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And so I always wondered, what is that roadblock to the inability to smoothly evolve without hitting so many speed bumps?
Mm-hmm.
And us having to break out the jackhammer to remove the speed bump before it happens.
Yeah. Do you think that, just thinking, some of those roadblocks are also aided and abetted by the friendships that are parallel, that are riding with them through that process? So they're getting fed. You understand what I'm saying?
I get it, but I think a lot of it is internal.
Okay.
And so if you really want, and I'm going to say this, and this, I'm going to look that camera because it's about to make a lot of y'all hot up in here. One of our biggest problems with the relationships between men and women, from the minute we come out of the womb and we are being taught by our parents, men are always taught how they should treat a woman. Women are always taught how they should be treated by a man. No one ever teaches a woman how to treat a man. No one ever teaches a man how he should be treated by a woman. And so that starts with that whole...
I've never thought about it that way. I've never thought about it.
You grew up with a single mom.
Absolutely.
She never taught you what you should be expecting from a woman and how you should expect her to treat you.
How you should treat a woman.
She teaches you how you should treat a woman. Nobody ever teaches you how to have boundaries and what you should be expecting from a woman.
Yeah.
No woman is ever taught,
because we're still
this is how you should treat a man.
Yeah.
It's always, you shouldn't accept anything less than this from a man. Not, you shouldn't do anything less than this for a man. And that disconnect is where shit gets all fucked up. I think that's where it stems from. And people can believe, listen to me, agree with me or not. But that right there is where a lot of this disconnect comes from. So we're always trying to figure out. We spend so much time trying to figure out how to treat a woman, the appropriate way to treat a woman or treat the woman in our life. And we neglect ourselves by not truly understanding how we deserve to be treated. And so we never express how we want to be treated because we're so busy trying to treat her the way she wants to be treated.
Which is funny because then when you go to a man especially, but a man and a woman, you ask them, well, what do you want? You can't get a straight answer out of that.
Right. And if
a lot of times.
Well, think about it. And we always say this. If you ask a man what he wants, I just want her to be my peace. But think about this. A woman can't be a man's peace.
Unless he knows what his peace is. Because
a woman's mind is never peaceful. Women worry about everything. Think about it. They're never at peace. And if you ask any woman, because they're always thinking about everything. That's why they can they're multitask. We can be at peace as long as that peace isn't disrupted. And so it's hard to say to a woman, I want you to be my peace, when the most difficult thing in a woman's life is to find that peace within.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for a man to find peace within.
how can she bring that to him when she doesn't know what that is?
It's not her job.
Yeah.
It's not her job to bring him peace. It is her job, or not even say job. It's not her responsibility to bring him peace.
Right.
It's her responsibility to not disrupt his peace. There's difference.
Mm-hmm.
It is not his responsibility to quiet the noise in your head. It is his responsibility to help guide you through that chaos if you want his help doing so. He's willing to lead if you allow him to, but you have to allow him to, and you have to let him know, I need to be led, and be willing to follow his lead, because that's what you're looking for. He has to be willing to allow you to be his place of solace, like his you gotta allow him, you gotta allow him to be his place of home. If it's disruptive at home, he's never going to want to be at home. If you're chaotic, he's not going to want to be a part of your chaos. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were talking about this bringing past trauma into the future. And I always say this, it is not my responsibility to heal you if I wasn't the one that cut you. Mm-hmm. If you're still bleeding, don't bleed on me. I didn't create the wound. Now, we all have scars. It's my job not to open them up. You know? It's my responsibility to not be the source of it reopening.
Right.
But if you're still bleeding, if you're still wounded, if you're still hurting, don't come to me to help you heal it. That's not my responsibility. That's too much of a burden on me. That's a burden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heal before you bring somebody else into it.
Consider you're trying to develop a relationship. Yeah. You can't develop a relationship bleeding on someone.
It's not my responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so don't try to that's a good way to burden your man or your woman. If I'm a man and I'm not healed and I'm bringing this woman in hoping that I can throw all this on her, that's not fair to her either. You got to get past your old shit before you can start some new shit. If you're not past it, you're not ready, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But too many people get caught up in that relationship to relationship to relationship
because they don't want to be alone.
Right. Because they're not healed, and healing sometimes hurts.
Yeah. And being lonely,
and that shit takes work.
Yeah. And being lonely hurts because it takes up the space of trying to heal. They're thinking this is going to, lick the wound, put the Band-Aid on, but it's not going to be of service.
No.
And you're not going to be of service in a relationship.
So how do you find that peace? What do you do? What do you do to find that peace in a world that's crazy chaotic right now?
Honestly, I don't worry about what's going on in the world because I only have one person to worry about, which is me. I say that it just sounds so whatever, like I don't give a shit. I give a shit, but I give more shit about myself. I give 2 shits about myself.
Do you care what people think of you? Do you care people's opinion of you?
I used to.
So you're telling me now you don't?
I don't. And I can't say it all. I can't say it all because I haven't been put in a circumstance where I'm right now, as of recent, that I'm worried about what other people might say.
I didn't say worry. Do you care?
Care. Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up, because somebody told me,
I'm sure I care.
I don't care about what people think of about what people think. And so, this goes back to this, it was a male-female dynamic.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep it simple. you don't care what people think about you.
Okay.
And on a superficial level. But yet, you'll throw on a pair of heels that make your feet hurt because you think they look cute. Not because you like looking down at your feet, because you like the way they make you look.
So people
can care. And you care what they think, so you put on these shoes that hurt your feet. Well, I want to dress sexy for me. Okay. So then I said, well, what if nobody else told you were sexy? How do you know what sexy is if somebody didn't tell you before that it was sexy? As a man. Oh, and this is just on a superficial level.
Mm-hmm.
I throw on a suit and somebody says, damn, that suit looks great. You only say you don't care about other people's opinion if that opinion is negative. You all day will accept people's praise, but when somebody says something negative about you, I don't care about your opinion. But if somebody's like, oh, I love the way you do this, I love the way you do that, you're so smart, you're so that, you care about those positive affirmations all day. So you can't say I don't care about anyone's opinions, but then yet feel good when people compliment you.
Mm-hmm.
If you were ambivalent, you wouldn't care if it was a compliment or a criticism. You would feel the same for both. But because you only say I don't care when it's a negative opinion, means you give a shit more than you think.
Yeah.
Because you've already decided I feel some kind of way, so it's easier for me to say I don't care.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, and so that's why I say, I used to say I don't give a shit about people's opinion. Yeah, you do.
You do.
You do.
Oh.
You just don't have to react to it. But you go off by yourself in a closed room, you can't tell me you never have that thought about, oh, somebody says they don't like the way that I wear these black scrubs. I'm like, I don't care if they don't like my black scrubs. I'm still going to wear it because it's not going to change my reaction to it. But if they said, oh, I love the way you look in those scrubs, I might wear them more often.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's these things where if it's in line with what you think about yourself, then you care. If it's not in line with what you think about yourself, then you say you don't care.
Mm-hmm. It's your algorithm. It's your own personal algorithm. Because think about how you get on social media. You look at one thing, next thing you know, that same feed keeps coming up. You hear something good for you, that feed, that's what you're looking for.
And so it's
interesting.
Yeah. And so when people tell me, when people talk about those opinions, I'm like, yeah, okay, you don't care? Cool. And here's the other thing too. You care about the opinions from the people who matter most.
Right.
Your wife's opinion is very different to you than a random stranger's opinion. So you can't say that you don't care what people think. You don't care what certain people think.
Mm-hmm. You gotta keep that house.
Right. It's just whoever it is.
Yeah.
You have to say, you know what? The opinions, for example, the opinions of the masses can shape how you move in the world. So what people think of you, and not just think of you or think about what you're doing, you care if people think you're a good coach because that's how you get business.
Absolutely.
So you can't say you don't care what people think because you care if they think you're good at what you do. I care if people think I'm a good doctor, whether I think I'm good or not.
Right.
Because those are the people that are going to make sure that I see more patients.
Yeah, you're fed.
I could think I'm the greatest ever, but if nobody else thinks that, then I'm sitting here twirling my thumbs, wondering about how can I take care of patients. So those opinions matter. I don't care if somebody says, I don't like your tattoos. Well, that's cool. Right. That I don't care about. I don't care who tells me that.
Uh-huh.
But if somebody says, I don't like the way your bedside manner is, and if I hear it from enough people, then I'm going to start checking myself.
Right.
I can't say, well, I don't care. Or if they say, I love the way you do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to keep doing more of X, Y, and Z because it's a positive reaction. You know? People who say they don't give a shit about other people's opinions ever are making an excuse to not adapt and evolve and grow.
In the environment.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's just it's kind of interesting when you peel back the layers.
Which at the end it still comes back to communication. Communication. How you're communicating with yourself, how you communicate with other people, how people are communicating with you, how you're receiving information that's being communicated to you, how you're living through that communication or dismissing it or running from it or whatever the case may be. It always comes back to communication.
Oh, exactly. And at the end of the day, you just have to live your life. Not the life they want you to live, not the life she wants you to live, not the life your kids want you to live. You have to live the life that you want to live and then see where other people fit in that life. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to adapt your life to every new person that comes along. And that shit doesn't work either.
Because then it's not your life. You're living other people's lives.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like I read something the other day, guys. Someone said, "What's your niche? What's your niche? What's your niche? What's your niche?" He said, "You are your niche. You got to be the best version of yourself. You putting yourself out there. How do you heal your wounds? How do you fix things? How do you solve your problems?
And how do you make yourself more valuable?"
Exactly.
You know, and how do you create value, and who determines that value? You know, I could think I'm the greatest thing ever. But if every attribute I have means nothing to you, I'm not valuable at all to you.
To me.
And that's why it's always so, I find it so crazy when people talk about high value. You know, we've had a podcast we talked about before about high value men, high value women, this kind of thing. And what people will realize, high price and high value are two different things.
Two totally different things.
You could be high priced and be of low value. You could be low price and high value. It just depends on what I find valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are like, he's a high value man. To who? Or she's a high value woman. To who?
I was going to ask, do you think that term high value, is that something that's placed on, let's say, for instance, a man? Is that placed on a man, or is that how a man owns his own space, his own boundaries within self?
I think it's what's placed on somebody. So,
Okay.
And what I mean by that is every man or every woman should find value within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And try to elevate those attributes the way they see fit. Now, when you come across somebody in your circle or you cross paths with somebody and they see those attributes,
Mm-hmm.
are they going to find them valuable? It's like a piece of art. A piece of art is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. I may think a Picasso's worth $50 million. You might look at that same Picasso and be like, I wouldn't pay $50 for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't speak to you.
Right.
The type of man that I am may speak volumes to one person and the other person could care less.
Mm-hmm.
So any man rolling around saying I'm a high value man, or you hear women say I'm looking for a high value man and they try to define what that is. And they try to make that, they try to define that for every woman out there. There's no such thing as a set of characteristics that every single woman finds valuable. Because realistically, there's some shit that people don't care about.
Yeah.
Just like with men, there's certain things that like for me, I find a woman that's high value, somebody who's feminine, who is educated, not necessarily school educated, but life educated.
Mm-hmm.
That's high value. You take those two things and put it in a man and say, I like a man who's masculine, who's educated. Women may say that's not enough for high value.
Right.
Some win. Some will say, I'm good with that. And so you place value in the things that you want and need, whatever that is.
It made me think about that one show we did on where we did two separate shows, the one where we interviewed men, the one we interviewed women, and how the idea that a lot of women, what they did was that person either in their life, a description of things that bothered them or that they found a value or they liked or disliked, was that person that was either currently in their life or they were just recent, but they were certain very, very particular in the characteristics. But when you ask men, it was a standard for them. It had nothing to do with any particular woman. It's just women. This, and this. I'm good.
Yeah.
Or if this, and this is in French, I'm not good.
Yeah. And so, that value that's placed on people, I'm like, I think social media has tried to set a standard for what is considered high value or of value. And I honestly feel deep to my core that social media, how you show up on social media, says a lot about you. Positive and or negative. And we've said this before on this podcast with women. How you present yourself on social media, I promise you, we notice, we talk about it, and the majority of the time, it doesn't heighten your value. The women that are looked upon as being the highest of value amongst dudes are the ones who probably don't have a great social media presence or who are private with their lives.
Mm-hmm. Or their social media, if it is big,
it's
their
work.
Business.
It's a business.
Absolute
correct.
Business. And not showing business, but displaying something else.
Yeah.
Their actual business.
Yeah, not thirst traps.
Yeah.
And the reason why we say that, it's cool if that's how you roll, but just understand it's the same as the guy who is on social media, flashy, showing money, posing with cars, doing all these things that turns women off. The guys who are either silent or motivational or are seen to be more valuable. The guys who have to try to show their value, women alike too. Men and women out there, if you have to show your value, then you are not valuable. Mm-hmm. Let it speak for itself. If I have to convince you that I have value, then I'm probably not valuable, at least not to you.
Let alone to themselves.
No, right? I'm trying to figure out my own self-worth, so I got to show you and get validation.
To get there, which means you're not involved with self. You're not working on yourself. You're using the exteriors to plant the seed of what you would hope you would appear to be.
Yeah.
Versus internal work and worth. And if you are trying to increase your value and your internal worth, you will never get to the end.
Yep.
There will never be a definitive ending. There's a continuation. So what you show is just your continuous growth versus what I got.
Right.
You said Lambo outside. Shit. You see.
It ain't mine.
You see my hot pocket?
Right? Tell you, man.
Oodles and noodles while I'm grinding.
But that's just it too, man. People no longer want to be a part of the process. They just want to be a part of the championship.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny. I heard a statistic that if you look at most millionaires, I forget the time frame they gave. 65% of millionaires are still with their first wife. 65%. And if you go through it, the majority of them got married before they became millionaires. And so the people that stick with you are the ones that were there for the grind. Those who come along after you've made your money, whether it's men or women, whoever's in the driver's seat of that big ticket, you're more likely to end up in divorce, which is kind of crazy, right? I forget where I heard that statistic. One, because if she's that person, that breadwinner, and she's not marrying up,
right,
she's going to always think that she's settled. And if he's that breadwinner, that millionaire, and she comes along, it's always going to be in the back of his mind that it was a money grab. Even if it's not. And with the statistics that women file for divorce 75% of the time.
Yeah, that's very true.
Those who are in it to win it were there with you through the grind.
Yeah.
You know,
not everybody's in it for the grind.
Nah.
Nobody.
People want a finished product. They don't. People nowadays, and the reason why is because, yeah, most people nowadays, man, they want the finished product. They don't want to be there for the project. I'm not here to raise a man. I'm not here to build with a man. I'm here to watch him build and then go after him.
Yeah.
You know, you see it so often because social media and the internet has made it seem like it's so easy to be here, that everyone is here, which everyone is fake here.
Mm-hmm. I've seen my own eyes this one couple. She was with him when he had, they always tell the story, that Honda Accord with the busted window, with the cracked tint on one side and the busted window. She stayed with him. She made sure that he was able to, with him and his son, take care of his son while he was grinding at night and working during the day. He was able to see his business go like this and just take off.
Yeah.
Sold it for over 200 mil.
Yeah.
She gets everything. She's that's my ride. That's my ride.
Yeah.
She's
take it all.
Yeah. You good with me. Whatever you want.
And here's the funny part. You hear a lot of times where women will say, oh, once he made it, he left me after he made it. Mm-hmm. Did he leave you or did you leave him? Well, he was blah, 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 blah. He wasn't in it anymore, so he left.
Were you present through the whole? Were you
there?
The
majority of the time, if you are there, not all the time, but the majority of the time, if you are there when a man is on his come up and you are his rock, regardless of the distractions he may have, regardless of things that may pop up, he's never going to forget that you got him there. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
He ain't going nowhere.
And that
he may do some dumb shit from time to time, but he ain't going nowhere.
And that is what you call an interdependent relationship versus codependent. And I think people get that confused. They think interdependent, like I have to. No, y'all together, but y'all together on a wavelength. Y'all vibing. You moving. He's moving. You work with each other. Now work on each other.
And here's the funny thing you hear. I've heard people ask this question. If your dude fell on hard times, how long would you stay? And women always gave a timeline. He's got 6 months to get his shit together. He's got a year to get his shit together. But if you hear, you'll never hear a man say, if your woman fell on hard times, the first thing out of his mouth is, I got you.
So what I got to do?
I got you. But then you hear, well, that's his responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're not his responsibility. You're his choice. And when he's able to provide, if he can, that's what he will do.
Mm-hmm.
But you by no means are his responsibility. You're responsible for yourself. He's there to help you, or he's there to take on that load and carry that load for you, because we got bigger, broader shoulders. We're built for that. But if he needs you at a time to help carry that load, not carry the load, but just help, and you're like, nah, I'm not built like that, then what you here for? And I'm not talking about financial.
Mm-hmm. You have to be very clear on that.
I'm not talking about financial.
That's exactly where the world goes.
Money's easy. Money is the easy part of all of this. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, this is Men's Mental Health Month. Can you be there for that dude when he needs you to be there? Or can you be there only when it serves you?
Do you know when his spirit is down? Have you noticed?
Do you ask? Do you care? We tend to think you don't. That's why you see all these posts on social media about nobody cares. We say this a lot, and I wanted to get this in today because it's the last month.
Yeah.
The fact that we only talk about men's mental health 1 month of the year.
Yeah.
But everybody talks about, and not just men's mental health, men's health in general. There are so many programs out there geared towards the health, wellness, and well-being for women. Nobody pushes men to go to the doctor, get checked, go do different things. And so we don't. We're just expected, you got this? Yeah, you got this. Women out there, when's the last time you asked your dude if he went and saw a doctor? When's the last time you had a checkup? Have you ever asked him?
Does mine beat me up?
Do you realistically?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Do you ever ask him?
Yeah.
Or do you only force him when he starts to complain about something hurting or something?
Because you're tired of hearing
it.
Yeah. That's usually the place.
But by the time you hear that he's in pain, he's been struggling for a while. And now it's to the point where he hurts. And now you're hearing about it, which means you're probably a few months too late. You know? And so you have to step outside yourself. We as people have to step outside of ourselves and understand that there's more to this world than our world. And not everything has to be on your agenda. Not everything has to be on your time. Yes, your happiness comes first, but other people's happiness matters as well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't create your own happiness at the expense of others. Like I always say, I'm going to be happy. I can be happy with you, or I can be happy by myself. But there's no scenario where you're happy and I'm not.
Mm-hmm. And you're not going to take my happiness.
No. At all.
That vulture culture.
This is my happiness. I'm not pouring out my happiness to help fill your cup. You got to fill your own cup.
Don't be what's his name? And Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, right.
We can say, you got a milkshake and I got a milkshake. I'm taking your milkshake too.
I know this is
Serp it up.
I know this is a heavy conversation, but it's one that needs to be had.
Yeah.
That we don't discuss enough. And
yeah, I was going to say, not just discuss enough, is that we have to challenge each other to continue to try to discuss. Don't avoid the conversation. If it gets too hairy, let's just put it aside. No, we got to have the conversation all the time. It becomes easier.
Yeah, and I think we have to first of all figure out for ourselves, how do I create a better me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, before I came to the podcast tonight, I was doing this whole body 360 checkup.
Okay.
Head to toe, just this program is trying to fine tune everything from nutrition to everything, movement, all this stuff. I'm going to show you the results.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. But during this conversation, one of the doctors and one of the therapists asked me, what do you hope to get from this? What do you want? And I was like, honestly, I just want to be better. I was like, in every aspect I can be. And it starts with us having these conversations. How can you create a better you? Because if you can figure out how to create a better you and not expecting other people to make you better, then only then can you actually cross paths with other people and be that beacon of light that they may need in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to create a better you every day. There's a neurosurgeon I know, ex-football player, Myron Roll. He always talks about the 2% way. Basically, I want to get 2% better every day. Doesn't take much.
That's not huge. It's just so incremental.
What are you doing to create a better life for yourself? What are you doing to create better for you?
And what I want to add to that is when you figure out what you need to do for yourself or what you want, what better looks like for you, then realize that you do not have to create it alone. You're not by yourself. Now we start looking for the resources, the people, the energy fields I want to be around that are going to allow me to start cultivating that better version of myself.
Yes.
The things I read, the courses, the people, the environments, the gyms, everything.
Everything.
Based off of this is my core value of what I want to see. I want to be this much better every single day.
Everybody has a plan. Nobody wants to implement shit. So everybody has a whiteboard, a vision board, a Pinterest list.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to most people that write out their visions every day, I guarantee you most people don't check shit off that list.
Mm-hmm.
6 months go by and they're still writing the same shit. These daily affirmations that they never get to. Why? Because it never leaves the whiteboard. I always say, I'm going to do this. What is that? Who are you telling that to? Or are you just tricking yourself into thinking I'm doing this, you know? Mm-hmm. And so and I see it with people all the time, you know, I'm going to go to the gym. I had a patient who's 350 pounds, smoker, just all the badness. And I'm like, it's taking me to cut your back for you to have a wake-up call telling you I almost had to cancel your surgery because you almost had a bad accident, bad problem on the table. Before I even, just by putting you to sleep, you almost couldn't tolerate surgery. This ought to be a wake-up call. But why does it take that when every day you keep telling yourself, yeah, I think I need to lose weight, or yeah, I think I need to stop smoking? Your whiteboard says, quit smoking today. And that's been written on your whiteboard for 20 damn years. You know what I mean? So it's at what point do you stop reading self-help books and start living the self-help book?
Start writing your self-help book.
You know, when do you stop looking at other people for inspiration and become the inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't need to be inspired. You're just fucking lazy. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Your inspiration should be you in the mirror and not liking what you see. How do I change that?
Like what you
Put
see
in the
or
work.
how you feel.
Put in the work.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about physical, like what you see. I'm talking about the person you are.
Yeah.
Figure out what it takes to be better. And to be better, you got to do better.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah. But once you figure out, okay, I want to be a better person, these are the things I'm doing, doesn't mean you have to just end them right then and there. You just have to move away from them, working steadily. It's consistent. You consistently worked on getting there, so now you have to consistently work on getting away from it. And it's little by little getting away.
It's consistently showing up for yourself.
Yeah.
But people don't do that.
Yeah.
People don't do that.
Yeah.
There's times when I'm like, damn, I should be doing better.
Yeah. It's a personal belief system.
Today for me was a wake-up call. I'm like, all right, I could be eating better. I could be doing a lot of different things better. I'm like, you guys are happy at the way my numbers look, and I'm like, that shit could look better. I didn't like my body fat. I didn't like this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that. So I'm like, all right, give me a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. You know? But there's those people, even when you give them a roadmap, they're still too lazy to take the drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pure laziness, not I don't have the ability to, or you start making excuses as to why you can't do some shit, or you start blaming other people for why you're fucked up. I'm not your problem. You are the problem. And you are definitely the problem if you let me be your problem. Because I don't have to be your problem. You can cut me off at any time. But if you continuously let me be your problem, then you're the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so stop trying to make everybody else the problem and understand that you're your worst enemy. You're the problem. And unless you understand that all the shit that's going on in your world stems from you and not somebody else, once you realize that all that shit stems from you and change you, then you'll start to realize the rest of your world will start to fall in place.
Yeah. And that's not even really being negative about me being negative or us being negative about you.
No.
That's just you taking a stand for yourself.
Yeah.
And taking a stand means you got to also smell the shit.
We all got our shit. We all got our shit to deal with.
You got to smell the stank too.
For real.
You got to smell the stank. There's not all sweet.
We all have our shit to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to deal with it.
Yeah. It's yours.
Fuck.
Whether the shit float or sink to the bottom of the toilet,
Still
flush
stinks.
it.
Whatever. Figure it out. Figure that shit out, man. Figure it out.
Flush it.
Damn. You know, and just figure out what's going to work for you. Figure out what it takes for you to just get a little bit better. Just to do a little bit better to get a little bit better. And then each day just if this podcast today, I'm looking at y'all, if this podcast today gets you to that point where you're like, you know what? This is going to make me want to do something.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Where's your relationships? And I mean, not just your love, but your friendships, love and friendships.
And work.
Career, health, spirit. And I don't mean religion. I mean your inner peace, your spirit. Where is it?
Where are you vibrating on that energy scale? Yeah. Are you high vibration or are you low vibration? And if you're low vibration, why?
Yeah. Well, work is good, but I'm not. Okay, well, how do we get that up? Okay, how do we get this up?
And if your relationships or work, stop looking at it as a job. We talked about that this weekend. Start putting in effort instead of making work.
Real talk.
We're going to have more of these just coming at you in between our guest episodes. Because there's just this is everyday life. This is stuff that pops up.
This is the stuff that people need to hear.
And these are the conversations that we have regularly.
And the conversations you need to be having with people around you.
We want these podcasts to spark discussions, conversations with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones, with your coworkers. Nobody has coolers in their office anymore, but standing around the water cooler. This is one of those standing around the coffee machine.
But this conversation, more than anything else, this conversation is love. That's what it is. It's love. Love we're extending, love we're giving you, loving that you need to start loving yourself more. All of it is just love, man.
Figure out what that means to you.
Yeah.
And then make it happen. Make it work.
Yeah. Life is love, man.
Anyway, done fucking with y'all today. Shit. Make sure you guys check us out. Sipping on Excellence, Spotify, YouTube
Podcast, Apple,
everywhere. Go check out the shorts. Go check out the videos. We got a whole lot of episodes that you guys can go back and listen to. There's a lot of overlap on some of them. But,
we got a whole lot of love out there.
You know, there's a reason why people are talking. Go check them out, and you'll understand. The good news is there's no episode 1 feeds episode 2 feeds episode 3. You can go pick and choose which episodes you want to listen to because they're all very different, but they all come back to one base of communication. And this is us communicating our thoughts as men to you. You can find us on @SOE_podcast. You can find us at podcastsoe.com. You'll find me at Leonel Hunt on IG. You'll find me at huntspine.com. Coach KJ.
You'll find me at Coach KJ Knows on Instagram. You'll find me CoachKJ.com.
Yeah, go check out thehuntfoundation.org. The philanthropic work is there. It's working. We're doing our thing, trying to change the world as much as we can for the little time we're here. And hopefully this adds a little change to your world for whatever time you have left.
I wish a little medicine. A little medicine.
Just a little bit.
Little sip.
And on that note, y'all, we out.